प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपीनाथ श्यामा कुंड राधा कुंड गिरी गोवर्धन की जय। मथुरापुरी वृंदावन धाम की जय। जय। गंगा माई जमुना माई की जय। तुलसी देवी भक्ति देवी की जय। श्याम वेद भक्त वृंद की जय। गौर प्रेमानंदे। All glories to assembled devotees.
Hare Krishna.
All glories to assembled devotees.
Hare Krishna.
All glories to assembled devotees.
Krishna.
All glories, all glories, all glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. Hari Hari Bol. So today we are reading Canto 1, text 18 and verse number 24 and 25. So they are together, so we will recite both together. So I will read it 3 times and then you can repeat it, please. एकदा धनुरुद्यम्य विचरन् मृगयां वने मृगान् अनुगतः शान्तः क्षुधितस्त्रशिनो भृशं जलाशयम् अचक्षाणः प्रविवेश तम आश्रमं ददर्श मुनिम् आसीनं शान्तं मिलितलोचनम् एकदा धनुरुद्यम्य विचरन् मृगयां वने मृगान् अनुगतः श्रान्तः क्षुधितस्तृष्णो भृशं जलाशयम् अचक्षाणः प्रविवेश तम आश्रमं ददर्श मुनिम् आसीनं शान्तं मिलितलोचनम् एकदा धनुरुद्यम्य विचरन् मृगयां वने मृगान् अनुगतः शान्तः क्षुधितस्त्रशिनो भृशं जलाशयम् अचक्षाणः प्रविवेश तम आश्रमं ददर्श मुनिम् आसीनं शान्तं मिलितलोचनम्. Please recite.
एकदा धनुरुद्यम्य विचरन् मृगयां वने मृगान् अनुगतः श्रान्तः क्षुधितस्तृषितो भृशं जलाशयम् अचक्षाण प्रविवेश तम् आश्रमं ददर्श मुनिम् आसीनं शान्तं मिलितलोचनम्.
हरे कृष्ण. एकदा धनुरुद्यम्य विचरन् मृगयां मृगान् अनुगतः शान्तः क्षुधितस्तृषितो भृशं जलाशयं चक्षाणः प्रविवेश तमाश्रमं ददर्श मुनिम् आसीनं शान्तं मिलितलोचनम्. हरे कृष्ण.
एकदा धनुरुद्यम्य विचरन् मृगयां वने मृगान् अनुगतः शान्तः क्षुधितस्तृषितो भृशं जलाशयम् अचक्षण प्रविवेश तम् आश्रमं ददर्श मुनिम् आसीनं शान्तं मिलितलोचनम्.
तदा धनुरुद्यम्य विचरन् मृगयां वने मृगान् अनुगतः शान्तः क्षुधितस्तृषितो भृशं जलाशयम् अचक्षाण प्रविवेश तमाश्रमं ददर्श मुनिमासीनं शान्तं मिलितलोचनम्.
हरे कृष्ण. एकदा धनुरुद्यम्य विचरन् मृगयां वने मृगान् अनुगतः श्रान्तः क्षुद्धिस्तस्त्रिषितो वृषाम् जलाशयम् अचक्षणाः प्रविवेश तमः आश्रमम् ददर्श मुनीन् आसीनं शान्तं मिलितालोचनम्. Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Anyone else?
एकदा धनुरुद्यम्य विचरन् मृगयां वने मृगान् अनुगता श्रान्ता क्षुधितस्तृषितो पुरुषम् जलाशयम् अचक्षान प्रविशेष तम् आश्रमम् ददर्श मुनिम् आसीनं शान्तं मीलितलोचनम्.
Okay, so let us read word to word translation. Ekada, once upon a time, dhanu, arrow and bow. Udyamya, taking formally. Vicharan, following. Mragayam, hunting excursion. Vane, in the forest. Mragam, stakes. Anugatah, while following. Shrantah, extremely. Shanta, fatigue. Kshudhitah, hungry. Trashitah, being thirsty. Brasham, extremely. Jala asanam, ashayam, reservoir of water. Achakshanah, while searching for. Prabhivesha, entered into. Tam, that famous. Ashramam, her hermitage of Shamikrishi. Dadarsha, saw. Munim, the sage. Asinam, seated. Shantam, all silent. Milita, closed. Lochanam, his eyes. Translation purport by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Once upon a time, Maharaj Parikshit, while engaged in hunting in the forest, with bow and arrows, became extremely fatigued, hungry and thirsty while following the stakes. While searching for a reservoir of water, he entered the hermitage of well-known Shamik Rishi and saw the sage sitting silently with closed eyes. Purport. The Supreme Personality, the Supreme Lord, is so kind to his devotees that in proper time, he calls such devotees up to him and thus creates an auspicious circumstances for the devotee. Maharaj Parikshit was a pure devotee of the Lord, and there was no reason for him to become extremely fatigued, hungry, and thirsty, because a devotee of the Lord never becomes perturbed by such bodily demands. But by the desire of the Lord, even such a devotee can become apparently fatigued and thirsty just to create a situation favorable for his renunciation from worldly activities. One has to give up all attachment for worldly relations before one is able to go back to Godhead. And thus, when a devotee is too much absorbed in worldly affairs, the Lord creates a situation to cause indifference. The Supreme Lord never forgets his pure devotees, even though he may be engaged in so-called worldly affairs. Sometimes he creates an awkward position and the devotee becomes obliged to renounce all worldly affairs. The devotee can understand by the signal of the Lord, but others take it to be unfavorable and frustrating. Maharaj Parikshit was to become the medium for the revelation of Srimad Bhagavatam by Lord Krishna, as his grandfather Arjuna was the medium for the Bhagavad Gita. Had Arjuna not been taken up with an illusion of family affection by the will of the Lord, the Bhagavad Gita would not have been spoken. by the Lord himself for the good of all concerned. Similarly, had the Maharaj Parikshit not been fatigued, hungry and thirsty at this time, Srimad Bhagavatam would not have been spoken by Srila Sukadeva Goswami, the prime authority of Srimad Bhagavatam. So this is a prelude to the circumstances under which Srimad Bhagavatam was spoken for the benefit of all concerned. The prelude therefore begins with the word once upon a time. Om Agyanti Mirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruvai Namaha. So this verse is very good, and Prabhupada actually put very nice purport. And this verse actually says, like like Bhagavad Gita came because Arjuna actually gave illusion. And then, so Arjuna, although a pure devotee of the Lord, he came from the spiritual world, but he got bewildered with these family attachments, and said, no, I will not fight, and all those things. And then Lord Krishna has to give him Bhagavad Gita. Similarly, his grandson Parikshit, he got bewildered by the thirst and hunger. Although he was a great king, and he could control all his vegas, Vacho Vegam, Manasa Krodh Vegam, thirst. Also, these all things he can actually control, because we can see that after, once he starts hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, he stopped the drinking, eating, sleeping, anything, any body needs, he completely stopped. So we can know that he can know. Okay, Prabhu, I'm sorry. So, although Parikshit Maharaj knew very well that he can control the hunger and everything, but Lord created that kind of situation that he was so much like into thirst and all these things, these bodily needs, that he insulted even a great saint Shankrishi. So we can see that it is all because of the will of the Lord, not like Parikshit Maharaj wanted to do that, or Arjun wanted to have this kind of family affection, because they both, but see the great thing that they both, Parikshit Maharaj and Arjun, both were in the same family, in the Pandav family. And Lord gave them the chance, one the great grandson and grandfather. So this is actually great, like incidents, that both Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita both came due to them actually, and Krishna could speak for all of us. And we are reading every day, for so many years and years, and it will go till the end of the Kali Yuga. And then Bhagavad Gita, actually Srimad Bhagavatam is the eternal, and it always happens, it's not like it written first time, it was before also, before Vedvyas, Srimad Bhagavatam was there, Bhagavad Gita was there also. That's why Krishna says that I spoke it to Sun God. So I will go one by one. It says once upon a time. So once upon a time means like, it looks like some grandmom is giving the story, like when we were little kids, we will surround the grandma and ask her to give some story of king or something, so it looks like that. But here, actually, the rishis, at the Shaunakadi rishis, in the Naimisharan, actually, they were asking the question before. Like in the 4th chapter, we can see, like, Sud Goswami was describing about the renunciation of Parikshit Maharaj, and he said that Parikshit Maharaj was a great emperor, and all the enemies also will bow down to him. And he actually increased the prestige of Pandu dynasty. And he was young and very powerful in possessing all kingly opulences. But the rishis has the question, why did he give up everything to sit on the bank of Ganges and fast until death? So now he's answering this question actually. In the next question, they were asking in the text number 12, that to the Lord, those who are devoted to the Lord live only for the welfare of the Lord. And though Parikshit was free from all attachment of the worldly possessions, how could he give up his mortal body, which was a shelter for others? Actually, his body was exemplary. His body was shelter for all other people. So how he could give up his mortal body? And so to answer these questions, actually, then Sutta Goswami actually in saying here that once upon a time, and then he said, while engaged in hunting in the forest with his bow and arrow, become extremely fatigued, hungry and thirsty. So let us see why the Kshatriya kings were used to go for hunting. Because normally it's killing the animals, and Parikshit Maharaj was so great king, so he should not have done it. But actually Kshatriya kings used to actually get trained, and that's why they want to kill the animals, how they are good in the bow and arrow, and also fighting. Sometimes they will fight with the tiger and lion also, and sometimes they will kill the lion and then take the skin and give it to the rishis, munis, sages, so this they will give the asam like that. So that's why they used to go and for fight. Now here we can imagine, King Parikshit was with his all entourage also when they went, but now later on he find himself alone. So how did it happen? It's actually just Lord Krishna's arrangement, because at least some person should be there. And then when he reached to the hermitage when he was looking for some water, because he was so thirsty and tired. So there were other houses also, but this was also like arrangement of the Lord that he entered the hermitage of Shamik Rishi, who was a great saint, great Rishi. So he went there, but inside he sees that the darshan, he saw the sage sitting asinam, sitting on an asan, and milita lochana. Milita lochana means his eyes were closed, and he was very silent, shantam, and he was deep in the meditation. So that's why king saw. And then Parikshit Maharaj said, give me some water, give me some water. But the rishi was in trance, so he could not hear, because when you are in trance, you're all external things, all material sense organs, they are all closed completely, so he didn't hear king. Otherwise he will definitely. But king actually, when he was he got some angry, because this is the shloka where it says that Parikshit became angry at Shamik Rishi for improper reception. So when somebody comes to our place, actually 3-4 things, we should give. First thing, we have to give him asan to sit, so that's the respect of the guest. Then we should give him some water. Then we should give him some sweet words. So, and proper respect. So these things has to be done, but nobody gave him any respect or anything. He was so thirsty. His mouth was actually drying so much, that it made him so angry that Rishi is not responding to me. And then all the bad things comes in the mind. What he was thinking, that this Rishi, he's a Brahman. He thinks, he's a great person, and I'm king of this whole area, whole universe. And because I am low born, like in Kshatriya, because he's Brahman is much higher caste than Kshatriya. So that's why he's not opening his eyes. That's what he thought, all the time bad thoughts comes, when the bad situation comes, it may not be true, but they do come. And because of this, he thought thing, and then he went outside, and near the door, there was a dead snake. So he picked up the snake with his arrow and put it on the neck of Shamik Rishi, thinking that Shamik Rishi actually gave me very cold reception. So I'm giving him cold thing also, the dead snake. So that was his thinking, and then he returned back to his palace. But when he returned back to his palace, actually he felt very bad that Rishi may be in trance, it may not be his mistake, and then many things came in his mind. So actually, like Rishi was sitting on the asana. So why they sit on the asana? Sometime, many lectures I heard that we should actually sit on asana in the morning when we do prayers or chanting or something. Actually, we should also sit on the proper asana. It's not like somebody sometimes sitting on this place, sometimes sitting on that place. We should sit on our asana, because asana also is, although a dead thing, but when we chant, then that also gets energized actually, because it got spiritual energy. And then actually that asana itself help us in our devotional service. And we will get attracted to devotional service when we sit on the asana, So that's why they suggest that we should sit on proper asana and chant on that and do our prayers there. And that asana actually we should not share with somebody. We should not let somebody sit down, use that asana. So, and Rishi was closing the eyes, because when his eyes were closed, because he wanted to get out of all these material things, completely. So actually it is said that Supreme Personality of Godhead is very kind, that he calls for his devotees. That's why he wanted Parikshit Maharaj to go and come and serve in the Golok Vrindavan. That's why he wanted Parikshit Maharaj there. And through Parikshit Maharaj, he wanted Sukdev Goswami to recite Bhagavatam, Srimad Bhagavatam, so everybody can listen. All the rishis, munis, and then Vyasdev in the book form, and it is going on for years and years now. So the question comes, how Parikshit Maharaj actually becomes so tired, fatigue, and so thirsty. So we know from Ishopan, the nectar of instruction, we know that there is Shlok Vacho Vegam, Manasa Krodha Vegam, Jivva Vegam, Udarpastha Vegam, Etan Vegam Yo, Vishaheta Dhiraha, Sarvam Apimam, Prathvim Sa Shishyate. So he can make all the disciples all over the world if he can control his urges. So Parikshit Maharaj actually was in position to control all his Vegas. He was not like, this is not, he's a sober person, and he was so elevated soul. So these Vegas actually are for us to control, not for Parikshit Maharaj. Urge of speech, demand of the mind, impulse of anger, and the control of the tongue, urge of the belly, and also the agitation of the genitals. So all these things should be controlled properly. Then one can actually be in the spiritual platform, So these things are very important for all of us, that we should see that we control all our urges. Then we can become better devotee much faster, rather than if we get succumbed to all these things, then it will be very hard for us to be in our devotional service. Other things Srila Prabhupada is saying here, that one has to give up all the attachments for the worldly relations before one is able to go back to Godhead. And thus, when a devotee is too much absorbed in worldly affairs, the Lord creates a situation to cause the indifference. So actually, one has to give up all the worldly relations, like, oh, this is my son, this is my father, this is this, So we have to give up all these relations. Sarva upadhir virirmuktam. And also, when Krishna's mercy comes, when the Krishna wants you, then he takes all things from us, That's why there is a nice slok, Yashaham anugrahyami harishyate tad dhanam shanehe tato dhanam tyajyanti asya sojana dukha dukkhita. So Krishna actually bewildered all this kind of devotee if he gives his mercy to that particular devotee. Supreme Personality of Godhead said, if I especially favor someone, I gradually deprive him of his wealth. And once wealth goes away, all the other people, friends and everything goes away automatically, because everybody wants money. If you are rich, you have 10,000 friends. But if you are not rich, we are very poor, then your friends are all gone. Then the relatives and friends of such poverty-stricken men abandon him. In this way, he suffers one distress after other distress. So then Krishna makes him so humble that then he cannot trust anybody that somebody will help me. Because many times we think, oh, like if you are a little child, things my father will help, or like me help, oh, my brothers will help, or this person will help, or that person. Nobody actually can help, except the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So there are actually, we can see the example of Kanan Maharaj. He got the 4th stage cancer when he was diagnosed a few years ago. And Maharaj was not bewildered by anything. He was very elevated soul. So he suddenly went to Vrindavan and all the time absorbed completely in katha and chanting and association with devotees and everything. And he left his body very happily in the association of all the devotees and sannyasis and everybody. So that kind of death is great death, So one should not worry about the death. Actually, one should actually see that if the God wants him, somehow or the other, he will take him. So Prabhupada is writing, Maharaj Parikshit was to become medium for the revelation of Srimad Bhagavatam by Lord Krishna. And his grandfather Arjuna was the medium for Bhagavad Gita. So Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam both had to come in this material world for the betterment of all fallen conditioned souls in this material world. So for that, actually, Krishna played the game, that he made him so thirsty and so tired. How a king, so powerful king, get tired, just like running from morning behind the stake, how he cannot get so tired, that he just do something that kind of, but it was the brain given, intelligence given to him by Lord. So he can do something and get the curse from Shringi and excuse me, and he can get curse, and then he can go to bank of Ganges, and then Sukdev Goswami. Everything happens so automatically, by the arrangement of Krishna, that everybody can hear the Srimad Bhagavatam. So many rishis, muni, all the people came, all the sages came from upper planetary system, all the people from here, without any notification, because notice is given by the Lord, in their heart, that Srimad Bhagavatam is being spoken by Sukdev Goswami, and everybody actually came so fast, in the same day. They could come from far, far away places, by their mystic powers. And they were all there to attend. Narad Muni was there, Vyasdev was there, and Sukdev Goswami came, and everybody recognized that this is the very highly elevated soul, and they gave him the chance to speak Srimad Bhagavatam, and then he spoke Bhagavatam. So here we can see that Parikshit Maharaj, how he can become angry, because Krishna gave him that kind of intelligence, and he became angry, and that's why everything happened. So one should actually just depend fully on the mercy of Lord Krishna, and never we should complain that, oh, why this thing happened to me, why this thing happened to me, because we should never think anything that Krishna can do something wrong to us. Especially the devotees, he gives very special favor to his devotees. He all the time helps them and helps them to come to the bhakti mark. If we are in bhakti, Krishna will actually facilitate us and give us more and more chances to associate with the elevated devotee. He brings the devotees to us, and that's way slowly he gives that kind of environment, so we can actually increase in bhakti. Now we hear Bhagavatam every single day, and we associate with so many devotees. So actually this is a good fortune for all of us actually to hear Bhagavatam every single day, and that's why Krishna arranged this thing through the medium of Parikshit Maharaj. So I will end here and request all other devotees, Vishnugada Prabhu, Acharya Prabhu, so that they can speak something about this shloka. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Kaivalya Prabhu, especially since I requested you at the very last minute to speak on this verse. Vishnugada Prabhu, Acharya Prabhu, and Charuchandra Prabhu, if anybody would like to.
Very nice class, but I don't have anything to add at this point. Hare Krishna, very satisfying.
Thank you.
One thing to know is that also that usually the kings, when they were hunting, they would have their retinue with them. So it was unusual that he was alone there. But, you know, that's another arrangement of the Lord. You follow? And then, so there are many instances in Vedic literature where, although, you know, hunting wasn't practiced by the Brahmins, Vaishyas, or Shudras, it was allowed for the kings or the Kshatriyas. Why? Because they had to keep, they actually were, you know, had to have their ability to, you know, punish or kill the miscreants. They had to, that was their point. So, but in spite of that, so many times you find that the hunting gets them in trouble. Like Karna, isn't it?
Yeah.
Karna was hunting and he killed a cow mistakenly. And
Pandu.
yeah, Dasharat, so many. So even though it's allowed, it's a dangerous, still a dangerous thing. So Maharaj Pariksit here, he's hunting also. So you get to the things are in trouble. Of course, it's the arrangement of the Lord, but there's still the other lesson is minimize it, try to avoid it as much as you can, you know, in general. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah. Of course, nowadays in politicians, everybody wants to advertise or boast that they're hunters because it makes them look like they're manly people, even though in the, you know, if there's a fight, an actual fight in a war, they stay in their bunkers and without, you know, and let everybody else get shot at and killed. So it's kind of a foolish thing. Just a couple of comments that one. And I was wondering, why is it, you know, how is it that this snake a dead snake is outside the ashram? Usually they'd clean up around the ashram, right? Maybe it was I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. Shringi is the son, right? Shringi?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So maybe he was supposed to clean up that. Wasn't he supposed to clean up that area? I don't know. Just some thoughts, questions.
Probably arrangement of the Lord, and it may be that he just died probably a few hours ago and nobody actually saw.
Okay.
Yeah, the Samik Rishi was in the trance, so he could not see that. And Shangi was out taking bath in the river with his friends, you know, so nobody was there actually, practically, to see the dead snake. Other thing I wanted to say, why it is described after a couple verses that he was wearing a snake's skin and his hairs were all matted. So all the actually sages, and at that time, you know, they will have only coping and then they will just cover with the skin of the animal, you know. So that way they need not to wash any cloth, iron them, you know. We waste so much time washing, and then they do all at that time, you know, they were just doing in meditation for whole day, you know, so they don't have time for this kind of bodily needs, you know. So they will wear the skin of snake. And the other thing with the skin of snake, that the snakes will not come close to them. Once they see their skin, you know, then of the animal, they will never come there, you know. So that's a protection for them. For them, when they are in trance or something, you know, the snakes will not come and bite them. Also, the matted hair, because they will not take care of hair, like comb the hair or anything, so all the hairs were all matted, and they will not cut the hair or anything, that shaving and cutting, hair cutting and all those things they don't do. The sages, they don't want to waste their time in these bodily needs. So just a comment.
Oh, Prabhu, I have a question. About you said like when we chant the holy name, it's very nice to have one own asan, and don't share it with nobody. So any reason for that?
Mataji, I didn't understand your question. Can you repeat it, please?
Yeah, you're saying like it is very nice if we have our own asan when we chant the
Awesome.
japa. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And why we have to have our own, because we don't practice that usually.
Yeah, but it is advised actually by, I heard a couple of classes on that if we have our own asan and sit down and chant every single day, that asan itself gets energized by the spiritual energy, comes in the asan itself. And when we sit down, we get that energy also through the asan. So that's why we should not allow anybody to sit on that asan, and we should sit every single day and chant on that. So that is advised, just if you want to get extra help, So that is the reason we should not share with another person that particular asan, which will give us spiritual energy. Because slowly hearing Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare every single day, that gets energized, and then it can help us. That's not written in Bhagavatam, but it's advised by the sages, So if one want to follow, fine. If they don't want to follow, that's fine. It's just an advice.
Very nice class. Thank you.
Anybody else? Any comments? Charachandra Prabhu, you want to add up some few more words?
Hare Krishna. I have nothing to add, Prabhu. As always, it's a very nice class. It made me think, though, if this sort of thing were to happen these days, a person who's in a respectable position and they do something that's out of their character and may even be considered, Shringi actually considered a huge insult, for example. And obviously it was Krishna's arrangement. But these days, if something happens like that, we pretty much defame the person completely. And everybody says, oh, yeah, I knew that they were always up to no good. Just see, this shows that, their intentions were always bad, and so we do like that. And so it seems like this type of situation can be a learning experience for us to try to not fall into that particular. I mean, sometimes there are people who are in positions that definitely have impeachable character and they're just pretenders. That's also there. But then there are other times where there are people who normally they have unimpeachable character and they, make a mistake from time to time. Not a big one, but a small one. And so we should be able to understand how to see that properly. That's
any examples you might have?
Oh, well, I don't have any in mind right now. Actually, yeah, I can think of a few, but I wouldn't want to say them because they tend to be political. And so then it tends to look like it's about those people instead of the actual situation. So I'd say we just stick to the example of Maharaj Parikshit.
Okay.
One thing I think is that we have to, both with what you are saying and what's in the line here also in the purport, we have to be conscious. We have to think through. The line in the purport is, the devotee can understand by the signal of the Lord, but others take it to be unfavorable and frustrating. So we always hear that it must be Krishna's arrangement. We say that, but truly, do we believe that? True. I mean, today this line is sinking into me a little bit more than it had before. So the point is that we actually should think through and let it sink in and actually apply it. Sometimes we say it, it's just a rote thing that we say humbly, but do we mean humbly? When we say humbly, we mean whatever you say, whether I like it or not, I will accept it. But we say I'm saying this humbly, but I don't accept whatever it is that is being said. So some of these things we really have to absorb the point behind the words, not just say it, but actually mean it. And help each other also. You know, when somebody is being defamed, we just get into the fray. We go along and we add to the fire. So each one of us should actually think through. So that is my thought for today.
Thank you, Mataji. Dronacharya Prabhu, you want to add up something and maybe some announcements?
Kalpesh Prabhu has raised his hand.
Okay, Kalpesh Prabhu, go ahead, please.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji and Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. I just had this question while Mataji was speaking about the Lord arrangement. So when we live in Pennsylvania here, and I came across there is a called Pennsylvania Game Commission. If you guys have ever heard about that, basically a government. It's a government agency which legalizes for hunting animals. Legally. That's what the Game Commission. That's one of the part of the Game Commission, and there is a casinos too in that. So how do we see that is a Krishna's arrangement when we are living in this, and what should be a devotee approach on this, and for those kind of things which are coming from the government body?
Well, in this material body, we cannot say that everything is arranged by Krishna actually, because sometimes we use our own free will, and this game board and everything, they on the name of that these animals will create too many and they will come on the road and this and that, and that's why they kill them unnecessarily. But actually, Krishna is feeding everybody from ant to the big elephant. So Krishna will feed them, Yeah, there will be little problem on the roads and everything, and they may get crushed, but people get karma of killing them. And it's not like Lord wants them to kill like that and mercilessly. So that's my view. It may be different. Different people may have different view on that, because somebody says, oh, the animals will be so many, that all the roads will be taken over by them. That's why they are killing. So
I heard that many times, that the reason why they want to kill is because they don't want their population to grow. Only human population should grow, but the animal population should not grow.
But there are so many forests, they can live there.
Always wonder that question, like how, because sometimes we come across that Lord is sanctioning all the desires. And I always try to find a good reason, like related to. I know it's very difficult to understand law of karma, how it functions, but it's quite interesting when we are in path of devotion, and we are in the society where we are seeing those things, and even we understand those things are not probably in a right spirit, and sometimes we cannot do anything about it, and I don't know how to even tell somebody, because if telling something against the government is a big thing, like we can have a one-on-one conversation, but not something on a legal platform or.
Yeah, it really very hard to change the laws, until this government does it, and we can protest it and write a letter. But other than that, it's very hard. And people are like meat eaters and everything. They want to hang the skin and to show what they did. How they shoot. So it's really very hard. Yeah. So we should put our energy in something else. Doing our bhakti rather than. We should, of course, have Jyotaya, but we should see that how much success we can get. So that is the problem.
And just by reading several room conversation of Srila Prabhupada or some like lectures, he constantly mentioned about the slaughterhouses. How many slaughterhouses are maintained on this? So he had a real pain for within his heart, why unnecessarily the animals are being killed, and he mentioned not one time, maybe so many times he mentioned, so many times.
Yeah, mostly he was very against the cow killing, because cow is so dear to Lord Krishna, and that's why cow should never be killed. Other animals, all have their spirit soul, in them, and we should not kill. But sometimes it's very hard. It's still like after all this protest and everything about cow killing, it's still so many slaughterhouses go on, and so many people by Prabhupada's mercy actually became vegetarian, vegans. So that's all Prabhupada's actually. Before nobody was thinking. People, like when I used to go to medical meetings, they will laugh, that he's vegetarian. But now actually they say, I wish I could be vegetarian. So actually they know that their food is not good. So at least that kind of mentality people are getting now. So that's great success of Srila Prabhupada actually. It's a big problem and it will take time to get fixed.
Yeah, that's right. In my experience, the doctors which I have visited, not necessarily they encourage the meat eating, but sometimes they tell us to eat eggs. And nowadays, what I have noticed, the doctor is suggesting Mediterranean cuisine, mostly, not even vegetarian, but Mediterranean, like a sea kind of thing, So that is what many doctors are now teaching. And what I was surprised to know, hearing that you are being doctor, you can clarify on this subject more better than anybody else, that throughout the study of the doctor, there is no good subject where it describes about nutrition related subjects. Is that right? There is no nutrition subject in the when you study the profession of the doctor?
Yeah, we actually read all the foods, for blood pressure, for diabetes, everything. But we don't like cholesterol and all those things, we read those things, but not like a diet as a subject, completely. Concentration on diet, we don't have that subject, because dietitians actually study that subject. And then doctor order particular kind of food, diabetic food, he can write down so many calories. And then the nutritionist, she decides, what food to give. So it's not in doctor's hand. They make the nutrition specialist, they make, what you will take in breakfast, or what you will take in lunch, or what you will take in dinner, things like that, So that's why, and if they are not vegetarian themselves, how they will give the vegetarian diet to anybody, So first they themselves actually, and they all know that vegetarian diet is much healthier than the meat eating, but they don't suggest that, because they themselves are so much attracted to the meat. That's why this thing is going on.
And they call the Ayurveda as a pseudoscience.
Pseudoscience, they say, because experimentally it is not proven. That's why. Because all the Ayurvedic medicines, they were not tested properly. in the big study, you know, like there, here they say, oh, this was used in 7,000 patients or 42,000 patients, things like that, you know. So those medicines are not, that's why they say pseudoscience, you know. But that's not true, you know. This science is given by the Lord, but people don't have belief in the Lord, you know. They don't believe in that. So that's why this thing is going on.
That's right.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Anybody else has any comments, questions?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare
Thank you
Krishna.
for the wonderful class. So many lessons that are there in this pastime. Along Kalpesh Prabhu's point, to whenever you try to legislate behavior, it really doesn't change. And what Krishna consciousness has the ability to do is to actually change the heart. So as devotees, I think, you know, oftentimes we want to change society, you know, stop meat eating, you know, stop gambling, you know, stop prostitution, stop, you know, abortion and things like that. But as we've seen, even at the government level, you know, when they try to stop these things, people still do them, you know. Abortion is abandoned or outlawed, but yet people still have abortions. You know, at one point in time, drinking alcohol was completely outlawed in America, but people found a way to do it because they want to do it. So I think the real thing that we have to do is to really change the consciousness of people and bring people to the platform of Krishna consciousness. And that is the only way, I think, that's within our, you know, realistic, you know, scope at this point in time. Maybe in the future it'll be different, but have, you know, create a consciousness change in people, interacting with them one-on-one, giving them Srila Prabhupada's books, performing Harinam Sankirtan, prasadam distribution, etc. And if we get the opportunity, then we can speak on our platform. But to think that we're going to change, you know, the law books or the textbooks at this point, you know, it'd be very, very difficult to do. You know, but we do have the ability to go out and interact with people, you know, and go out and preach and help uplift people's consciousness.
Yeah, excellent answer, Prabhu. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Yeah. So I wanted to invite everybody tomorrow to the temple for Srimad Bhagavatam class. We have a very special devotee who's visiting us, Mother Narayani. She's a disciple of Srila Prabhupada. She's an educator, author, very sweet devotee. She's written books on Srimad Bhagavatam, as well as manuals, and she's also taught the Bhakti Shastri, Bhakti Vaibhava, Bhakti Vedanta. These are all higher educational classes within Krishna consciousness. And she gave a really great talk last night on Bhagavad Gita, the three forms of suffering, the three kleshas, very practical and very understandable. So she's doing a series on Prahlad Maharaj's prayers. And tomorrow morning, on that. We will do it on Zoom, but we do encourage people, if you can, come and have the personal association. It makes a big difference. You get darshan of the deities, you know, breakfast prasadam, association with the devotees. So I'll do a little bit of a different format tomorrow than our typical Bhagavatam on Zoom. It'll be in the temple room. So we invite everybody to come. Greeting the deities tomorrow starts at 7:30. If you want to come for Mangalarti, that starts at 5 o'clock. But the second part of the program, 7:30, greeting the deities, Guru Puja, and then Srimad Bhagavatam class, and then breakfast. If you have any questions, I can answer them about that. If not, I hope to see everybody tomorrow.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Prabhuji, if you can let me know about, I don't have any information on Narayani Mataji. So like what, like she she's been practicing from how many years? And like, can you share something on it?
She joined in 1970.
Okay.
And very early, she went to India. She joined in Boston. She was telling some stories last night. They were living in the Juhu temple, just in little huts. This is before they had the temple, and they were trying to establish some preaching work there in very austere conditions, just sleeping on the floor day in and day out. You know, as a Westerner in the early 70s, there, no doors, no windows, just living there and distributing books and trying to get the word of Krishna consciousness out. She did Didi service in Calcutta for a little bit, book distribution in Calcutta temple, but she began, I think she began teaching in 1993, in the early 1990s, she began teaching, and just a very elevated and exalted teacher. I say she's an author. She's written books on Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, as well as manuals and study guides. She lives in Vrindavan half the year, half the year, and then in Alachua, Florida, half the year. She does some traveling and preaching other countries in between. She gives seminars and retreats.
Thank you very much, Prabhuji.
Okay. Okay. All right. Everybody have a wonderful Krishna conscious day.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Kaivalya Prabhu.
Hare Bol.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Vanchakalpatarubhyascha.
Sindhubhyev cha patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namah. Anantakoti Vaishnavrinda ki jai.
Thank you very much, Prabhu.
Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu. Dandavat Pranam. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhu.